Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about some middle grade books on my radar. So there have been quite a few middle grade books that I have heard about that have either already come out this year or that are coming out later this year that I have added to my Goodreads, but I haven't thought about in quite some time. But there have been a lot to accumulate on my list, and so I thought it might be a good idea to share some of these with you guys. It could be books that you have heard about before, or it could be books that you may not have heard about. So I guess I'm hoping that maybe you'll find something that you haven't heard about today, or that you'll find something new to get excited about in the middle grade world. So today, this is actually going to be a two-part video. And today I'm going to talk about books that have come out the first half of the year. And in my part 2 of the video, then I will talk about books that will come out in the second half of the year. Now, there may be books that I have skipped over for this video, but I've tried to narrow it down. And even then, I still have like 17 books to talk about today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start at the top from the beginning release date. So like January is my first book, and I'm going to talk about a few books that I don't think have been talked about quite as much on BookTube or Bookstagram. And like I said, maybe you'll find something that you haven't heard about before that you can get excited about too. So I'm going to go ahead and start in January and then go from there up until most recent book releases. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what piqued my interest in the books and read the Goodreads synopses for you. So yeah, just sit back, relax, grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, get cozy, and let's just go ahead and get started. So the first book is The Valley of Lost Secrets by Leslie Parr. This book came out January 7th, and I only recently heard about it. This is Leslie Parr's debut novel, and it is a World War II historical fiction, and it takes place in the fall of 1939. So I have got this pulled up on Goodreads. I'm going to go ahead and pop a picture up on the screen as well so you can see it. The cover definitely piqued my interest, but then I read the synopsis, and of course that piqued my interest even more. So it's September 1939 when Jimmy is evacuated to a small village in Wales. It couldn't be more different from London. Green, quiet, and full of strangers, he instantly feels out of place. But then he finds a skull hidden in a tree, and suddenly the valley is more frightening than the war. Who can Jimmy trust? His brother is too little, and his best friend has changed. Finding an ally in someone he never expects, they set out together to uncover the secrets that lie with the skull. What they discover will change Jimmy and the village forever. And this is a mesmerizing mystery about bravery and brotherhood from an outstanding new voice. So initially, the first thing that piqued my interest was it said he finds a skull hidden in a tree. And that reminded me of the book Skeleton Tree, and I can't remember the author's name right now, but it's got a skeleton in the tree on the cover of the book, and that just reminded me of that book. They're not similar at all. It just reminded me of that, and I haven't even read that one yet. That's the first thing that piqued my interest though, and then the fact that there's kind of like a mystery behind this, and it's historical fiction, and I tend to like middle grade historical fiction more than any other historical fiction, so that definitely piqued my interest. So it has a pretty good rating on Goodreads. It's 4.48 stars, so I'm really excited to check that one out. Also, before I go on to the next book, if you have read any of these books that have came out that I'm about to talk about, please let me know in the comments what your thoughts were, because that might help me decide which one of these to pick up first. The next book is The Memory Thief by Jodi Lynn Anderson. This book came out on March 2nd, and it is the first book in a trilogy, and it is the 13 Witches trilogy. This is a fantasy witchy series, and it said it's for fans of The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which I have not read yet, but I am planning to buddy read with some friends next month. And let's see what Goodreads says. 12-year-old Rosie Oak's mom is missing, whatever it is that makes mothers love their daughters. All her life, Rosie has known this and turned to stories for comfort. Then, on the night Rosie decides to throw her stories away forever, an invisible ally helps her discover The Witch Hunter's Guide to the Universe, a book that claims that all of the evil in the world stems from 13 witches who are unseen, but also unstoppable. One of these witches, the memory thief, holds an insidious power to steal our most precious treasures, our memories, and it is this witch who has cursed Rosie's mother. In her quest to save her mom, and with her wild, loyal friend Germ by her side, Rosie will find the layers hidden under the reality she only thought she knew, where ghosts linger as shades of the past, where clouds witness the world and a ladder dangles from the moon, leading to something bigger and more. Here, words are weapons against the darkness, and witch hunters are those brave enough to wield their imagination in the face of the unthinkable. The knowledge of her beloved stories is an arsenal in this world, but to unlock their power, Rosie must dare to have hope and believe in herself in the face of daunting odds. So this sounds like it's going to be a great trilogy. And I think what piques my interest the most, the title is really what caught me. It's The Memory Thief, and anything that has to do with memory loss or amnesia or anything like that always piques my interest. And so this one is about a witch who can steal memories, which sounds really cool. And it just sounds like it's going to be a good time. I mean, I like witchy, spooky. This may not be so spooky, but like it's magical and witchy, and I love books like that usually, especially in middle grade. And it has pretty decent ratings on Goodreads as well. It's got 4.07 average stars. So that's pretty good. So definitely looking forward to that one also. The next book is The Nobodies by Laurel Elizabeth Hasara. This book came out on March 22nd, and it is Laurel's debut novel, and it is horror. And if you know me, you know that I love spooky middle grade books. And the cover of this book is so dark and ominous, and the way the art style is, like the two figures on the front don't even have faces drawn on, so I absolutely love that. And also, this takes place in 1997, and I'm a 90s baby, and it takes place in the Bible Belt, and I live in the Bible Belt. So I thought this would be a really interesting one. It says, in 1997's Bible Belt comes an unusual tale of society's least desirable. A woman plagued by the lasting effects of a disturbing premonition, a man seeking redemption after 2 decades of street gang affiliation, a priest gifting religious counsel to a community in moral decline, 6 neglected youths making their getaway in an infamous Dodge van. How does it all come together in the unceasing chaos of poverty? That just sounds like a lot, but it also sounds really good. It also has pretty high ratings on Goodreads, but it only has 25 ratings, so I will take that with a grain of salt. But it does have 4.16 star ratings. I'm trying to see if anybody I know has read this. No. And I don't think anybody I know even has this on their list or that I'm friends with on Goodreads. So that's good. But yeah, I'm excited about this one. Like I said, I love spooky middle grades, and this takes place in the 90s in the Bible Belt, and I'm just interested to see what this is going to be like. The next book is Secrets of Camp Nowhere by Chris Grine, or Grin. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. This came out on March 30th, and it is the first in a graphic novel series. And let's see, it says it's perfect for fans of Lumberjanes and Brain Camp. I'm not familiar with Brain Camp, but I did read Lumberjanes, and I thought it was pretty good. Not quite my cup of tea, but it was interesting. I did not continue the series, but I did enjoy it enough to pick up something else that's recommended along the same lines, I guess. It says there's more than mosquitoes at Camp Whatever, and Willow will need to face truths about herself and her family as summer camp dread goes head to head with the supernatural. That's all I want to know. There is a little bit more to the synopsis, but just know that there's a mystery involving stolen snakes. Wow. Okay, let's try that again. It's a mystery involving stolen snacks, suspected vampires, and missing campers. And it says it's shrouded in the sinister fog that hides a generation of secrets at Camp, whatever it's called. So that sounds interesting to me. I like supernatural, ghosty, spooky middle grades, as you all know, especially graphic novels. So this one has 298 ratings on Goodreads and an average of 4.03 stars. So that gives me high hopes for it. And so yeah, it's paranormal, it's middle grade, it's a graphic novel. I mean, why not? Why would I not want to pick it up? The next book is Everyday Magic by Jess Kidd, and the cover of this book is honestly what drew me in. It has a couple of kids and some witches on the cover. So once again, witchy. We all know I love this. So this came out on April 1st, and it is a fantasy middle grade, a witchy middle grade, and Goodreads says, welcome to Little Snottington. Snottington, yes, I said that right. Where nothing is normal and every day is magic. Alfie Blackstack wasn't surprised to find himself an orphan. His parents had always been careless. 9-year-old Alfie Blackstack's parents have met a very unfortunate end. Now he's living in the dark and cobwebby Switherbream Hall with his mad-haired Aunt Gertie and a warty Aunt Zeta, who would really like to pickle him. To pickle him? Like when you can things and pickle them? That's odd phrasing. I'm not quite sure what that means. Before long, Alfie realizes his aunts aren't just the weird local chemists, they're witches. And they travel by flying vacuum cleaner, which reminds me of Hocus Pocus, by the way. If you know, you know. Soon the Fagin family circus arrives in town and Alfie makes his first friend, the fearless Calypso Fagin. But when her sister Nova disappears, they must face the head witch and her terrifying assistant in a race to find Nova and stop the next witch war. Can Alfie save his new friends with a dash of magic and a big dose of bravery? I have nothing else to say. It sounds adventurous. It's going to involve some bravery and witches, and it kind of, this is going to sound so silly, but it's like this circus comes to town and there's a witch involved. So it reminds me, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but my initial thought is the old Care Bears movie that had like the witch that was in that book. And there was like a little boy and a little girl, just like in the story, that were trying to save the circus and the world from like the forces of evil with the Care Bears. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. But I loved that Care Bears movie, but it also really freaked me out because that little lady in the book was like super creepy. I'll include a picture here if you don't know what I'm talking about of the lady in the book, because that legit freaked me out as a kid, but I also love that movie. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. Okay, moving on. The next book on my list is Leonard, My Life as a Cat by Carly Sorosiak. This book came out on April 13th, and it is kind of like sci-fi mixed with animals. And I think it's going to be also a mixture of humor and heartwarming. And I say that because I read I, Cosmo by Carly Sorosiak for my middle grade book club that I host at the library that I work at. And it was so funny, but it was also so heartwarming and made me cry. And it was a great book overall. So I'm really excited to pick up something else by Carly Sorosiak. And Leonard, My Life as a Cat just sounds like so good. Let me tell you what it's about. He's not a stray house cat. He's an immortal being, and now he must choose whether to return to his planet or remain with his new human friend in a humorous, heart-tugging story from the author of I, Cosmo. The cat that Olive rescues from a flood has a secret. He's not really a cat at all, but an alien who crashed to Earth on a beam of light. The cat, whom Olive names Leonard, was prepared to visit the planet as a human, but something went wrong. Now Leonard may never know what it's like to hold an umbrella, go bowling, or host a dinner party. And his human jokes still need some work. Knock, knock. Who's there? Just Leonard. It's me. While Olive worries about whether she will have to move after her mom and her new boyfriend get back from their summer vacation, Leonard tries to figure out how to get from South Carolina to Yellowstone National Park. Because if he's not there at the end of the month, he'll miss his ride home. But as Olive teaches Leonard about the beautiful and confusing world of humans, he starts to realize how much he cares about this particular one. A sweet and dryly funny story about what it means to be human and what it means to be home. If that does not sound like a funny book that can also be a warm hug, I don't know what does. Except maybe A Place to Hang the Moon. That's also a warm hug. But yes, this sounds great. And this cover is just perfection. I love it so much. And I actually got a copy of this book to give away at the book club where we read I, Cosmo. And the glasses on Leonard are like reflective, and I absolutely love it. So 10 out of 10 on the cover, 10 out of 10 on the synopsis. I hope it'll be a 10 out of 10 on the book as well. Next up is Dog Squad by Chris Grabenstein, and this is the author of Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library. I read that for the middle grade book club at my library also, and the kiddos really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun, and so I thought that Dog Squad sounded pretty fun also. This book came out on May 2nd. It involves dogs, and I'm pretty sure it will involve humor if it involves Chris, because he is a pretty hysterical author. It says, introducing Dog Squad, the crime-fighting, tail-wagging, hilarious new series, so this is the first book in a series, from the New York Times bestselling author of Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library. When trouble calls, it's Dog Squad to the rescue, which kind of reminds me of Scooby-Doo. Duke is not your average dog. Along with his crew, he fights crime and goes on claw-biting adventures helping dogs in peril in the hit streaming sensation Dog Squad. Fred is a pretty average dog. He's scrappy. Okay, they just said Fred and they said scrappy. If I'm not already thinking about Scooby-Doo, I am now. He's lovable, but he's not brave like his heroes on Dog Squad. Fred looks an awful lot like Duke from Dog Squad, though. In fact, when Duke needs a stand-in, Fred's the perfect choice, but the Dog Squad action doesn't always stop on screen. When there's danger in real life, can Fred find the courage to step up and save the day? It's all paws on deck in this action-packed middle grade adventure series, just right for anyone who loves dogs and anyone who loves to laugh. This sounds like a great book, and I'm really excited to read it. I'm actually hoping to read it with my middle grade book club at the library as well, and hopefully have Chris Grabenstein do an author visit with us. I have put in for that. We will see if I get the pleasure of hosting him at our library virtually, so crossing our fingers for that. Next up is The Adventure Is Now by Jess Redman. I really liked the cover of this book. That's what piqued my interest. It's beautiful and it looks very adventurous, and I mean, it's called The Adventure Is Now. But really, I picked this book because I thought it would be good for our middle grade book club at the library. How many times am I going to say that in this video? We'll see. This book came out on May 4th, and it is an adventure novel, if you couldn't already tell. Realistic, but also has some fantasy elements in it. It just looks really fun, so let's see what Goodreads says. It's a middle grade novel about a boy who learns about protecting the environment, finding real friends, and living in the now while spending the summer on a remote island. Yes, that sounds fantastic, both for me and for the book club kiddos, so I can't wait to introduce them to this. Sometimes it's hard to be Sometimes it's hard to be Milton P. Green. He says all the wrong things, his family's falling apart, and everyone at school avoids him because of the very embarrassing bird brain incident. But when Milton plays his video game, Isle of Wild, he becomes someone else. Video games, always a hit with kids, so we're off for a good start with this middle grade. Seahawk, the brave and brilliant naturalist explorer who conquers danger at every turn. That's who he plays in the game. Milton is hard to say. Then Milton's parents ship him off to the remote lone island for the summer, where his Uncle Evan is an environmentalist researcher. The island is chock full of spectacular species, and Milton realizes Milton realizes this is his chance to become the brave and brilliant naturalist he's always wanted to be, and even meet some fellow explorers. But as it turns out, the future of the lone island is in some pretty serious peril, and the only thing that can save it is a field guide full of cryptic clues. I love that. Mystery. There we go. If Milton and his unexpected new friends are going to protect the island, they'll have to trust each other, discover new truths, and embark on a wild and wondrous adventure all their own. That sounds phenomenal. I don't need to know more. I mean, I read the synopsis, so obviously I knew more than I did going in, but I was already... I can't talk now. What is going on? I think the Miltons got me messed up. I talk so quickly that I want to say just like Milton, but not, or Milton, and not say Milton. That's my problem. Anyways, okay, moving on. The next book is The Best Worst Summer by Elizabeth Eulberg. This book came out May 4th also. It is realistic fiction, but also a little bit historical. It has dual timelines that take place in the present day and then in 1989, which really makes me excited because I feel like I'll be able to pick up on some of the nostalgic things that come up in this. I actually heard about this book from Amanda from the Curly Reader, so thank you, Amanda, for bringing this book to my attention. She read it and really enjoyed it, and I think I will as well. So Goodreads says this is a middle grade story about two summers, 3 decades apart, and the box of secrets linking them together. So I think it's about, I'm going to try not to read all the synopsis, but it's about this not friend group. There's 2 best friends. One of them's moving away, so it's the worst summer ever, but then they find this time capsule, or the girl finds this time capsule in her backyard, and it's from 1989, and it's one that these 2 best friends in 1989 made together. And so she is kind of like digging through the time capsule, finding out some family secrets, and yeah, it just sounds really good. There's 30 years between these 2 timelines, and it's a mystery, and it's summery, and it just sounds like a good time, so I'm really excited to check that one out. Next is The Edge of Strange Hollow by Gabrielle K. Byrne. This cover really piqued my interest because it reminded me a little bit of the Spiderwick Chronicles. There was a really loud noise. I don't know if you guys heard that, but it kind of scared me. I think it's fine. I don't know if it was a firework or something like, it was like a trunk slamming. It must be fine because Joby's looking out the window and doesn't seem too alarmed. Okay, so like I was saying, this kind of reminded me of the Spiderwick Chronicles, and also a little bit of like the Land of Stories, Wizard of Once kind of vibes. Middle grade fantasy essentially is what I'm saying. This book came out on May 18th. It is a fantasy novel, and Goodreads says, "Welcome to Strange Hollow. Beware the Grimwood. Poppy Sunshine isn't like everyone else in Strange Hollow. She's not afraid of the Grimwood, home to magical creatures like shapeshifters, fairies, witches, and even a three-headed dog. Banned from the wood by her parents, Poppy longs to learn everything about it and imagines joining her mother and father as they hunt the forest's cursed magical objects. So when her only family disappears on a routine expedition, she and her friends must break every rule to save them. But Poppy soon discovers that things in the Grimwood are rarely what they seem, and the monsters who took her parents may not be monsters at all. That sounds so good. Okay, so yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm about to say the same thing about all the rest of these books, so let me try to change my lingo a little bit. Next up, we've got the Magic Treehouse series. Now, Magic Treehouse is an age-old book. It is very popular. It was popular when I was a kid, still popular today, but now they are creating graphic novels out of the series. The first one is Dinosaurs Before Dark. This came out on May 18th. It is fantasy, historical, involves some time travel. It's really fun, and I'm really excited to get my hands on this one. Then the next book is The Sprite and the Gardener by Rhea Abrego and Joe Witt. This came out on May 21st, and it's a graphic novel that is kind of like got Secret Garden vibes, which I haven't read The Secret Garden yet. I need to. But I heard about this book from Liv's library, and it just looks really whimsical and great. And I'm not going to read the Goodreads synopsis for this one just because I don't want to like make this video too long, because I am reading a lot of synopses. But this one sounded really cute, and it just looks like springtime or summertime in a garden and fairies and whimsical, and I love it, so I had to add it to my list. Next up is Picasso by Remy Lai. This came out on May 21st. It is a graphic novel that involves animals and art, if you couldn't already piece that together by the title, Picasso. So Goodreads says, every Saturday, Picasso trots into town with a basket, a shopping list, and cash in paw to buy groceries for his family. One day he passes 11-year-old Jo peering out the window of her house, bored and lonely. Astonished by the sight of an adorable basket-toting dog on his own, Jo follows Picasso, and when she's seen alongside him by a group of kids from her school, they mistake her for Picasso's owner. Excited to make new friends, Jo reluctantly hides the truth and agrees to let her dog model for an art class the kids attend. What could go wrong? But what starts as a Chihuahua-sized lie quickly grows Great Dane-sized when animal control receives complaints about a dog roaming the streets off-leash. With Picasso's freedom at stake, is Jo willing to spill the truth and risk her new friendship? That just sounds super cute. I love art, I love dogs, and I love graphic novels and middle grade. So this sounds right up my alley. I heard about this book from Colby Sharp, who is on YouTube. He is a 5th grade teacher from Michigan, and I absolutely love his videos. He does a lot of unboxings on Fridays, and he gets a lot of books from publishers, and this is one that he got and was talking about, and it just looked really good, so I had to add it to my list. Then I have Best Nerds Forever by James Patterson and Chris Grabenstein, which, to be honest, I more or less added this because 1, it's ghosty, and 2, Chris Grabenstein. I'm not a super huge fan of James Patterson, but maybe this will change my mind. I know this is like primarily by him, and it's under his Jimmy Patterson middle grade imprint, but it came out on May 21st. It's a fantasy, ghosty mystery, also assuming it'll probably be a little bit humorous with Chris's name on there. And it says, Finn McAllister was a normal middle school nerd, and now he's a ghost with a big mystery to solve. One minute Finn was biking home from school, and the next he was run off the road by a maniac in a big van. Now he's a ghost. He can do lots of fun things, like try every ice cream flavor in the store, sneak up on people, and play as many video games as he wants. Finn even has a new ghost friend, Isabella, to show him the ropes. But he also has a lot of big questions, like, who wanted him dead? And can he stop the maniac from striking again? Packed with hilarious, there it is, Chris Grabenstein, he's always funny. Hilarious moments, epic friendships, and fun art, Best Nerds Forever celebrates the nerd in each of us and the joy of living life to its fullest. That sounds awesome. So I'm really hoping, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of James Patterson, but I'm really hoping that this is going to be a good one. I don't know when I'll get to it because I have a lot of spooky books on my list, as you can tell from this video just alone. But it does sound really good, and I'm really excited to give it a try. Okay, we are down to the last 3 books. So first up, I have Twitch by M.G. Leonard. This came out on June 3rd, And Goodreads says, can a bird watcher outwit an escaped convict? Now, that's really all I need to know is it's a bird watcher and an escaped convict mystery. Maybe not mystery, but just kind of like a little bit of an adventurous story. Let's see what else it says. Twitch has 3 pet chickens, 4 pigeons, swallows nesting in his bedroom, and a passion for bird watching. On the first day of the summer holidays, he arrives at his secret hide to find, I guess that's like secret hideout, to find police everywhere. A convicted robber has broken out of prison and is hiding in Abe's Wood. Can Twitch use his talents for bird watching to hunt for the dangerous prisoner and find the missing loot? I love the thought of a kid who is an avid bird watcher, first of all, just because you don't hear about people bird watching as much anymore. And I think it's really cool. I used to bird watch with my grandmother, and I always thought it was really fun to go through. We had like a book of all the different kinds of birds, and it was always really cool to try to identify them when we went out for walks. So I love that this is about a bird watcher, but also a bird watcher that's going to use his skills to try to catch an escaped convict. That sounds really cool. Next is The Double Life of Danny Day by Mike Thayer. This book came out on June 15th, and it's kind of like a Groundhog Day thing, except Danny Day relives the same day twice. So he considers his first day to be like a discard day. It's kind of like a practice run. At the end of the day, he goes to bed, wakes up, and poof, everything gets reset. Everything except his memory, that is. The second time, everything's normal, just like it is for everyone else. That's when everything counts and his actions stick. As you could probably guess, Sticky Day Danny is very different from Discard Day Danny. When Danny's family moves across the country, he suddenly has to use his ability for more than just slacking off and playing video games. Now he's making new friends, fending off jerks, exposing a ring of cheaters in the lunchtime video game tournament, and taking down bullies one day at a time. Or is it 2 days at a time? This sounds really good, especially for like a middle grade group of kids. There's some books in middle grade that I feel like are good for me as an adult, which they're written for middle grade. So like, I don't mean to say that in a standoffish way, but there are some that I enjoy more. But then there are some like this that I feel like really are going to hit home with middle graders, age 12-year-olds, because this is talking about school, bullies, video games. This is right up kids' alleys. So I really hope that I enjoy this one. I feel like I will, and this may actually be one that I decide to share with my middle grade book club at the library. We shall see. And the last book on my list is another graphic novel. I do believe it's going to be the first in a series, maybe. No, it's a solo debut. Well, no, it's his. Okay, I don't think it's a series. Never mind. I don't know why I thought that. But it's My Own World by Mike Holmes. It came out on June 22nd, so just a few days ago. Like I said, it's a graphic novel, and this is the artist behind Wings of Fire and Secret Coders, which I'm familiar with Wings of Fire. I've not read them, but I've heard great things. Lots of people, lots of patrons at my library love that, both adults and kids alike. So I definitely need to check that out. But this is his first solo debut, and it is a middle grade memoir-inflected fantasy graphic novel. So it says, life is difficult for 9-year-old Nathan. All he dreams of is hanging out with his older brother, watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, and enjoying summer vacation far away from the neighborhood bullies. When he overhears his parents talking about a family crisis, he seeks sanctuary from his troubles. Nathan discovers a portal to a berry-colored world where time has little meaning, and he finally is in control. There, his imagination takes him on wondrous adventures across seas and through the air, with new extraordinary friends of his own creation. In his magical hideaway, Nathan is safe from the anxieties of his life, but can he bring himself to face the real world? So that also sounds really good to me. It sounds like he's trying to escape from the world, which is kind of why we read books, is escapism. So yeah. That is the last book that I have on my list for today. Like I said, there will be a part 2, so be looking for that pretty soon. If you have read any of the books that I mentioned today, let me know in the comments what you thought. That way I can kind of organize my TBR. And thank you so much for stopping by and tuning in for this video. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button below. And if you want to see more videos from me, you can hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications whenever I post a new video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, friends.